If you have time, go visit Alcatraz. I guarantee you, you'll have an easier time getting in and out than they did in the movie. All right. Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Andrew. I'm here to talk about written communication, about how to write effectively and clearly. We've heard a lot of talks about developing written communication, and I want to show you how to do that well today, especially in today's world where we're on distributed teams, hybrid work, and you want to develop and lean on async communication, right? But if you write something and the other person isn't able to understand it or decipher it, did you really send it? If a tree falls in the forest, and no one's there to hear it, did it really fall? So, how many of you have been come across a document like this? You know, there's words on a page, and there's ideas somewhere in here, and maybe there's some section headings here and there. But man, you're on page 3, you're looking through it, and you're straining to understand what the author's trying to say. And maybe it's you because, you know, it's 4:56, and you really need that second cup of coffee. You know, but dear reader, it is not you. It is the author. The author was not able to unpack their ideas and give you the gift of clarity and to tell you what they want to get at, and they want to hand it to you on a silver platter. Honestly, that's what we want to do. How can we develop a written communication style where you're going to be handing your reader your main takeaway on a silver platter? Well, Barbara Minto did just that. Barbara Minto she was a McKinsey consultant in the 60s, and she was a trailblazer. She was one of the very first women graduates from Harvard Business School when they first started accepting women. And she ended up being the very first hire at McKinsey, the very first MBA hire, woman MBA hire. And at McKinsey, she developed their competency of executive communication. Because you have to remember, McKinsey and Company, right, the management consulting company. Companies pay McKinsey millions of dollars to parachute into their organizations and develop some sort of key insights about their process or their strategy or about what to do. And these management consultants then wrap up their findings and their learnings in some sort of digestible report form for these executive stakeholders. And so you want to pay a lot of attention to how you're crafting and structuring your written communication. Basically, the best of the best are using this method. And this became known as the McKinsey method. And Barbara Minto, later on, when she left McKinsey, wrote a book about it called The Pyramid Principle. And it's more popularized today, known as the Mento Pyramid, and it's taught worldwide. And if you ever met anyone in management consulting, they can probably tell you all about it forward and backwards. So I want to show you how you can use that to really clarify and tidy up your thinking and your writing. Let's get to it. There's 2 main parts in the pyramid principle. The first part is about the intro, and the second part is about the structure, the body, the meat and potatoes of what you want to say. The intro is also known as SCQA. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about the second part, the pyramid. Now, what do these mean? Let's start with SCQA. In SCQA, it's an acronym, obviously. It's a way of revealing the context for your document in an introductory form. Here's how it works. The situation. This is the world as it is, the status quo. When you talk about your situation, you're then going to reveal a complication. The complication is the plot twist, right? Something changes in your competitive environment. You're losing market share now. You know, some metrics have tanked, or attrition is higher or something. So there's a problem. And this brings up the question in your reader's mind. Hey, how are we going to solve for this problem? And one interesting thing that I noticed that Barbara Minto said is that this question is already in your reader's minds. The CEO is tossing and turning at night because there's this problem in the business. Or your reader, you know, engineering director is trying to figure out how you're going to fix this reliability issue in the system. Which leads you to the answer. The answer is the key takeaway of what you're going to say. This is the one line, this one sentence. If your reader comes away with anything, it's going to be this. SCQA. Let's look at an example. S. Our annual attrition rate is usually around X, but in this tight labor market, it's gone up. It's gone up to Y. You know, we're seeing our key staff depart. Q, what can we do to retain our key talent? And here's the A, right, your takeaway. We believe that we should X, Y, and Z. Oh, by the way, the important thing about SCQA, if you notice, is that it actually tells a story, right? This is storytelling. You're setting up the plot, you're making something happen, and then the hero, the protagonist, your reader, picks up your answer to conquer the problem. It's an impulse as old as humanity. Okay, let's talk about the body of what you're going to say. Okay, so you've got your A, the answer, and Barbara Minto says you need to structure your arguments into a pyramid. This is the visual structure of what you're going to say. So, up top, how are we going to fix attrition? Answer, overhaul our talent philosophy. How? And then you come up with 3 key points. 3 is the magic number, not 2, not 4, it's 3. And let's say that in your document, here's your ideas. We're going to recalibrate salaries with the latest market data. And then we're going to put a task force together to make a recommendation on whether we can allow fully remote work. And then finally, we're going to go from an annual promo cycle to a semi-annual cycle to reward our staff who deserve to be promoted, right? So these might be your 3 supporting key ideas that prop up and support your key point or your takeaway. And then finally, under each of these key points, you're going to sprinkle on your data. This is all the stuff, the nitty-gritty, right? This is the research, the numbers, the facts. And these are all the little things that are going to support each of these key points. So, you see it? It's a pyramid. Now, what you do is you take your SCQA kind of intro and your pyramid, and you're going to basically start writing at this point, right? Notice at this point, I haven't said you open up a new Google Doc and you start typing. But now you do, right? Now you've got your ideas and you're ready to go to town. So SCQA is your introduction, right? You state your situation, complication, question, and your answer, and then you list the 3 main, first sentences of your key points, right? That's your intro paragraph 1 and 2. Then each of these key points is going to be a section in your document, right? Point A, point B, point C. And in there, that's where all your data goes. So notice that the brilliant thing here is that all the nitty-gritty, right, here's how I got to this conclusion, right, all the little facts and details, those don't have a chance to muddy the main message up top, right? But it's there. If the reader wants to get it, they're going to get there eventually, right? But if they don't have time, that's okay, because all the important stuff's up top. Let's end with a couple of pyramids. All right. Normally, our product's pretty reliable, but recently, we've suffered some pretty high-profile outages. Got a lot of bad press from it. We have some penalties we have to pay out from, contracts being violated, etc. How can we restore product reliability? Well, we believe we should, right? Let's say you ran the numbers, or you have a hunch, and you propose this to your boss. Boss, we need to revamp our on-call process. On-call, right? Thank you, Plum. So here's what we need to do. We need to maybe decompose our giant shared rotation where an engineer's on call once every 3 months. And we need to break those out into a distributed on-call where everyone's more managing their product surface. Cool. Good idea. Number 2, maybe let's increase accountability by reviewing operational metrics regularly and holding teams accountable. And then 3, let's reduce slack. Maybe let's work with product management to reduce the amount of expectations we have for every team to take on work so that they can actually focus on the root cause of some of these operational problems. Fill it in, sprinkle in your details, and you're good to go. Last one. We've been focusing on top-line user growth. We've been measuring daily active users. We've been growing rapidly year over year. But we just found out that actually we don't retain them very well. They churn. They drop off the platform after Y months, 3 months or something like that. And how can we have a more holistic measurement of the business? Well, we believe we should. You do the numbers, you talk to your people, and you have a hunch. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to say, we need to change our North Star metric. We're not measuring the right things. We need to move from daily active users to something else, right? A hybrid metric, 2 metrics, or maybe a different one. All right, and maybe the question is why? And you'll support your argument this way. It measures the right things for customer acquisition, the right things for customer retention, and the right things for everything else, et cetera, et cetera. You fill in the data. All right, that was a really quick flyover of the Mento Pyramid. And what I found is that you can sprinkle some of this on almost anything. The SCQA stuff can be a great introduction to set up some context for design documents, tech specs, product roadmaps, and things like that. The pyramid's a little bit more focused toward persuasive communication, like when you want to convince your boss to take action or to do something. But all in all of this really forces you to think before you write, right? To avoid the temptation to touch the keyboard before you're ready. Once you have that done, you have a much better chance of getting the right things across at the right time. All right, good luck, happy writing. I'll be posting some more pyramid-related material on Twitter, but it's great being here with you today. Thank you very much.